perspectives differ. Strengthen our commitment to justice, equity, and the dignity of every person. Help us to remain mindful of those who are struggling, the vulnerable, the marginalized, and those whose voices are too often unheard. Bless the first responders who protect our communities, the educators who shape future generations, the healthcare workers who bring comfort and healing, and the countless public servants and community leaders whose daily life sustains this great city. As we undertake the work before us today, may we be inspired by the resilience, diversity, and the hope that defines New York City. May our actions reflect our highest ideals and contribute to the well-being of all who call this city home. And may we leave this chamber having served not our personal interests, but the greater good. God bless the New York City Council, and go Knicks, amen.
Thank you. Thank you. I move to spread the invocation delivered by the Honorable Deborah Rose on the record. Thank you, Debbie, for being here with us today. I will now ask Councilmember Shirley Aldebal for the adoption of minutes.
Good afternoon. I make a motion that the minutes of the stated meetings of May 14th, 2026 and May 20th, 2026 be adopted as printed.
Councilmember Hanks, if you'd like to make some remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader. Today I am pleased and I stand to welcome former Councilmember Deborah Rose back into the Council chamber and thank her for delivering today's invocation. As the first African-American woman elected to public office on Staten Island, she made history and helped open doors for those who would follow. As someone who has now had the privilege of representing the North Shore and the 49th District, I recognize the significance in her service and the path she helped to pave. A proud Staten Island native, a descendant of historic Sandy Ground community, Councilmember Rose dedicated many years, 12, serving our borough and advocating for her constituents. I want to thank Councilmember Rose and all of the alums here today, including former Staten Island Council members Fred Cirillo, Jimmy Otto, Vinnie Ignizio, Sal Albanese, and Stephen Fiala. And with that, I make a motion for unanimous consent to spread the invocation upon the record. Go Knicks.
All right, messages and papers from the mayor.
None.
Communication from city, county, and borough offices.
Preconsidered M78, budget modification.
Referred to finance.
M79, CCRB appointment.
Received, order, printed, and filed.
Petitions and communications.
None.
Land use call-ups.
None.
Thank you. We will now have communication from Speaker Julie Menon.
Okay, how exciting is this in the chambers today? Knicks and 5, right? Okay, well, before I begin with what we're going to discuss on the stated agenda, we have, for the first time ever in City Council history, invited back all of the former council members back to the chambers. We have nearly 50 former City Council members here for our alumni reunion. And so among them are former commissioners, controllers, former U.S. Congress members, as well as current state senators, current state assembly members, and we are so grateful for their service to our city in the past and everything they've continued to do since leaving their post. I'm sure the air of nostalgia is very vivid and plenty of fond memories resurfacing, and I just hope that you are enjoying coming back to the chambers, and we're going to make this an annual tradition. All right, so first of all, I want to acknowledge all of the members who returned. Shh. Okay. We get everyone's, if people want to speak, if they can just go out to the rotunda, please. Okay, so I'm just going to call every former council member that is here. Sal Albanese. Woo! Mary Berger. Joe Borelli. Didn't see that. State Senator Eric Botcher. Now, I'm going to call her because she RSVP'd to this list, our own Gail Brewer, who RSVP'd. And Gail, I want a special thank you because I know you had so much of the contact information for so many of the members, so thank you. Thank you, Gail. Okay, I'm just, Fernando Cabrera. Adolfo Carrion Jr. Fred Cirillo. I just saw him walk in. New York State Senator Leroy Comrie. Costa Constantinides. Elizabeth Crowley. Steve DeBrenzia. Tom Duane. Is Rafael Espinal, MOM Commissioner Rafael Espinal, did he come? No, he's not here. Okay. Julissa Ferreras, I know I saw her. Stephen Fiala. Former Manhattan Borough President C. Virginia Fields. Ken Fisher. Ken Fisher? Is Ken here? Ken? Okay. Current Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella. Former New York State Senator Martin DeLon. Former Chair of the City Planning Commission, Dan Garodnick. Barry Grodonchek. Vincent Ignizio. Ari Kagan. Ben Kalos. Stephen Kaufman. Peter Koo. Is Brad Lander here? He's on this list. I don't think I saw him. Okay, not here. I know I saw her. Jessica Lappin. John Liu, New York State Senator John Liu. See here, I didn't see him yet. Okay. Former Congressmember Carolyn Maloney. I know I saw her. Christy Marmorato. Former Borough President Ruth Messenger. Charles Millard. Okay, is he here? Former Speaker Gifford Miller. Former DOB Commissioner and former Staten Island Borough President Jimmy Otto. Okay, former Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights, Annabelle Palma. Frederico Perez. Current Assembly Member Keith Powers. Former Assembly Member Adam Clayton Powell IV. I know I saw him, Dominic Recchia. I know he's here. Yes. Annette Robinson. We acknowledge her, but we'll acknowledge her again. Debbie Rose. Rafael Salamanca. Mark Traeger. Jimmy Vaca. Peter Vallone Jr. Is he here? Peter Vallone Jr. is on here? No? No, not here. Okay, okay. Marjorie Velasquez. I know I saw him, Ed Wallace. And a very special thanks to Mark Weprin, who was so key in organizing this amazing reunion. Mark, thank you for helping organize this. Assemblymember David Weprin.
Diana too. Diana Reyna.
Diana Reyna.
And David Yaski.
David Yaski. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And David Yaski. Okay. Amazing. Thank you. Okay. Oh, no, I had David Yaski. Okay, yeah. Helen Foster. Helen Foster. And did I acknowledge Assemblymember David Weprin? Okay. And then, did I leave anyone out before I
Yes.
did Jalissa. I did Jalissa. Okay.
Darlene Mealy.
Oh, yes, Councilmember Darlene Mealy and Councilmember Jim Gennaro.
How about Chuck Mueller?
I'm getting to them. Yeah.
Simca Felder.
Okay, everyone. All right, I'm going to go former chiefs of staff to the Speaker's office because someone asked me, well, wait a minute, my chief of staff is not there. No, we invited the former chiefs of staff, okay? They are, who are here. Jason Goldman. John Banks. Ramon Martinez. And Chuck Mira. Okay. I think I got everyone. All right, hopefully, okay. Well, we just want to welcome you all back. This is our new annual tradition to foster increased collaboration about the City Council and in perpetuity.
Keep it down in the chambers, please. Thank you.
Everyone's very excited. This is great. Okay, back to business. Earlier this morning, we announced the next phase of the City Council's proactive vision to address the affordable housing crisis. Our new initiative that we announced this morning will completely redevelop aging, standalone public libraries from the ground up while building 100% affordable housing on top of them.
Councilmember Morano, please mute yourself. Thank you.
Troublemaker, okay. It's a win-win, delivering state-of-the-art community library spaces and creating homes that New Yorkers can actually afford to live in. And that is crucial for the development of our city's economy, keeping working-class families in our city while laying the foundation to attract and maintain new businesses and the talent needed to lead them. To support the full redevelopment of 3 initial library sites, we're calling on the administration to invest $60 million in capital funding in the upcoming city budget. And if we secure this investment, we could unlock public-private partnerships that can deliver these state-of-the-art library facilities at both half the cost of ground-up construction and, equally importantly, double the speed. It's just the latest pillar of the Council's proactive agenda on housing, which includes the announcement we made last month of our small lots initiative to unlock as many as 35,000 new units of housing, and the launch of a new council advisory group on housing affordability to guide these initiatives and come up with new ones. We'll have more exciting initiatives to announce in the coming weeks. Now, turning to the budget. On Tuesday, the Council released its June 2026 economic and tax revenue forecasts, and we're pleased to announce that it estimated nearly $2 billion more in tax revenue for fiscal years 2026 and 2027 than projected by the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget. With these additional resources, we have the means to fund top council priorities, including greater funding for the College Savings Program NYC Kids Rise, an expansion of the Fair Fares discount program for public transit, and support for expanding city FEPS, which has been a top priority of the council. Obviously, many, many more initiatives. We are not going to name all of them. We're just naming a few here. Among some of the many priorities we are calling for is $81.5 million for organizations that help make it easier for our city's immigrant communities to secure essential access to legal representation, and especially crucial at this time of heightened fear and great uncertainty. Yesterday, on that note, we rallied with the New York Immigration Coalition to demand greater protections for all New Yorkers. Our revised financial projections will also allow the city to set aside a meaningful amount for the rainy day reserves, because we've been financially prudent since the start of the budget process, and we plan to stay prudent through the end. And we know there are a number of great variables and uncertainties, so we want to ensure that we're also putting aside money for the rainy day fund. Ahead of the World Cup, which is kicking off this afternoon. How exciting. We want to, woohoo, yes. We want to ensure that the millions of visitors flocking to our great city feel safe, informed, and confident that they can avoid the scams that target tourists. So on Monday, we announced that the Council's Oversight and Investigation Division found consistent patterns of behavior that sought to take advantage of tourists, particularly when it comes to illegal taxis, pedicabs, and ticket vendors. The findings and conclusions of their investigation were clear. To crack down on bad actors, we need stronger and more coordinated enforcement, and to inform tourists of common scams, we must improve public education. And yesterday, we unveiled 2 street co-namings, Pele Way in Councilmember Chanel Thomas Henry's district in Queens, and Thierry Henry Way in Councilmember Virginia Maloney's district in Manhattan. These were 2 great events I was honored to be at. While neither player represents the team I'm rooting for in the tournament, shout out Team USA. This effort brought the joy of the beautiful game from the stadium to the streets of our great city. In a time where our city and country can feel more divided than ever, sports seem to be one of the few things capable of uniting people across all divisions. We need to look no further than to our very own New York Knicks as evident of the atmospheric transformation in our city, and I really hope everyone watched the game last night. Switching gears, just over 2 weeks ago, on May 26, we marked the end of Eid al-Adha, also known as the Feast of Sacrifice. I hope that all who celebrated had a blessed, meaningful, and reflective holiday. Tomorrow, June 12th, is Philippines Independence Day. Yes, thank you. Commemorating the country's independence from Spanish rule. June 12th is also Loving Day, marking the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision, Loving v. Virginia, which ended laws and allowed interracial marriage in the United States. Yep. June 14th is Flag Day, when we celebrate the adoption of our national flag back in 1777. And June 19th is Juneteenth Day, which commemorates the day in 1865 when people who were enslaved in Galveston, Texas, finally received news of their emancipation. A few days later will be June 21st. Our nation will celebrate Father's Day. I hope you all have a meaningful day celebrating the fathers and father figures in your life, as well as remembering those who are no longer with us. June also has an abundance of month-long celebrations for communities across the 5 boroughs. So we are so proud to mark Pride Month, and this council is always committed to uplifting and supporting LGBTQIA+ New Yorkers who embody the soul of our city. Happy Pride. June is also Black Music Appreciation Month, when we honor the widespread contributions of Black musicians, whether it's through gospel, jazz, soul, house, or hip hop. It's also Caribbean American Heritage Month, when we celebrate the nearly 20% of our city's population who have Caribbean American heritage. Changing tunes slightly.
Keep it down to the chambers, please.
I know everyone's very excited about this alumni reunion. It is certainly super exciting. Changing tunes slightly, throughout June, we're also observing Gun Violence Awareness Month to acknowledge the victims, the survivors, and communities who've been impacted. As a council, we're deeply committed to making our city safer and bringing an end to the epidemic of gun violence. On a happier note, I want to wish a very happy birthday to Councilmember Shekhar Krishnan, whose birthday was on the 5th, to Councilmember Pierina Sanchez, whose birthday was yesterday, to Councilmember Joanne Ariola, who'll be celebrating on the 14th. And lastly, last but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out to the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc., who are celebrating Delta Day at City Hall. 2 of our very own council members, Deputy Speaker Dr. Natasha Williams and Sylvina Brooks Powers, are proud members of Delta Sigma Theta. I know the sign, right? The sign? Okay, I got it right. That's fine, okay. And I want to thank all the sorors for coming to our stated meeting. Okay, on a more serious note, we're going to move right into our stated agenda. First, we're going to vote on the following finance items. A pre-considered resolution approving a budget modification pursuant to 107E of the New York City Charter. Two pre-considered resolutions sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for two buildings and a full 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for one cooperative building in Councilmember Darlene Mealy's district.
Please keep it quiet in the chambers. The folks in the gallery also please keep it down. Thank you.
A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a full 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for one building in Councilmember Sandy Nurse's district. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for one building in Councilmember Yusuf Salam's district. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for 52 walk-up residential and 6 commercial buildings in Councilmember Lynn Schulman's district. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for 27 buildings in the districts of Councilmembers Yusuf Salam, Carmen de la Rosa, Chiose, Rita Joseph, Simca Felder, Farah Lewis, and Ina Vernikoff. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for one building in Councilmember Carl Wilson's district. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for two buildings, one commercial building, and 2 tax lots in the districts of Councilmembers Althea Stevens and Justin Sanchez. A pre-considered resolution sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for 10 buildings in Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa's district. And finally, a pre-considered resolution also sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee would establish a partial 40-year Article 11 tax exemption for 19 buildings in the districts of Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa, Eric Dinowitz, Pierina Sanchez, Oswald Feliz, Althea Stevens, Justin Sanchez, and Amanda Farias. Today, we will also vote on the following pieces of legislation. Resolution 421-A, sponsored by Councilmember Darlene Mealy, would call on the New York State Governor to sign S8689A 10055, authorizing the New York State Office for the Aging to establish, operate, and maintain programs for transportation services. Thank you to Hannah Cohn and Joshua Newman. Resolution 165, sponsored by Deputy Speaker Dr. Natasha Williams, would call on the New York State Legislature to introduce and pass and the governor to sign legislation to amend the Workers' Compensation Law in relation to allowing unused paid family leave to be transferred to grandparents and other designated caregivers. Yeah, okay, a lot of support for that. Good to hear. Okay, thank you. Thank you to our staff, Chloe Rivera and Katie Salina. A pre-considered resolution, also sponsored by Deputy Speaker Williams, would recognize the history of Juneteenth and affirm the City of New York's commitment to upholding the legacy of Juneteenth as a day of hope and celebration. Thank you to Stephen Sway. Resolution 365A, sponsored by Councilmember Kevin Riley, would call on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign S 1994 A 2218 to remove the minimum wage and hours requirement for applicants of child care assistance. Thank you to Katie Salina. Introduction 55-A, sponsored by Councilmember Alexa Vilas, would require the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs to develop signage that clearly describes the provisions of the New York State Administrative Code pertaining to access to city property and immigration enforcement. The signage would also incorporate Know Your Rights material drafted by Moya. Thank you to Nicole Kata, Rebecca Barilla, David Seitzer, and Rachel Cordero. Introduction 821-A, sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee, would require the New York City Department for the Aging to make information regarding services offered or administered by DFTA to be accessible through non-digital formats. Thank you to Hannah Kahn and Joshua Newman. Introduction 579-A, sponsored by Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez, would require the Department of Education to develop and implement an annual outreach and education campaign regarding early childhood education programs to reach families with children who are eligible to enroll in them. And last but not least, Introduction 9-A, also sponsored by Councilmember Lee, would require the Office of Child Care and Early Childhood Education Care, in consultation with DOHMH, DOB, and the Fire Department, to conduct a study on the processes for obtaining permits and licenses or registrations to operate a child care program in New York City. Thank you to Julia Goldsmith Pinkham. So thank you for your attention, and now I'll turn it back over to our Majority Leader.
Thank you, Speaker Menon. We will now move into the discussion of general orders, beginning with Councilmember Zhuang, followed by Aviles.
The other session. The other one.
You want me to, you're speaking general discussion?
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilmember Aviles, followed by Ressler.
Thank you. Today, I am proud to bring my bill, Intro 55, the New York City Know Your Rights Act, to a vote. The bill requires Moya to create and hang signage on city property telling people about their rights when engaging with federal immigration authorities. The bill comes at a critical moment for our city and our immigrant communities. On Wednesday of this week, Trump signed a bill adding $70 billion to ICE's budget. That is on top of the $100 billion in unobligated funds for ICE to terrorize communities across this country. It is truly difficult to even comprehend the horrors that more mass kidnappers could bring to our city. As the Trump administration ramps up its mass deportation agenda, New York City must push for humane policies that center care for our immigrant communities. The New York City Know Your Rights Act is an important step towards that vision. Signage identifying non-public areas of city property and detailing New Yorkers' rights in these spaces will give people the confidence they need to assert their rights in stressful situations. It would also help remind city employees around their obligations of our laws. I thank the advocates, service providers, and New Yorkers across the city who are organizing tirelessly to keep our city safe from Trump and ICE. I also thank my team and the council legislative staff for their hard work on this bill. I look forward to working with our partners at Moya to implement this legislation and to continue to expand funding for legal services to protect our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Lee.
Good afternoon, Speaker Menon, colleagues, advocates, and New Yorkers. I want to start by thanking the Speaker for her leadership and for helping move these bills forward. At the core, both of the bills that I'm passing today are about making city government work better for people. Intro 9A is about clearing a path so that more families can access the care that they need. It requires the city to study why it's so hard for child care providers to navigate permits, inspections, licenses, paperwork, and agency approvals, and to recommend ways to make the process clearer and faster while keeping health and safety standards. For too many families, child care is already hard enough to find and hard enough to afford. We should not also make it unnecessarily hard for providers to open their doors or expand their programs, because when they do, families feel it. And when we talk about universal child care, we have to be honest. We cannot build that system if the people providing care are forced to fight through unnecessary barriers just to do their jobs. And Intro 821A will require DFTA to make sure that information and services available online are also accessible offline by phone, paper forms, and non-digital options, so older adults are not shut out just because they do not use the internet or the computer. Together, these bills say something simple. Government should meet people where they are while making its systems more streamlined so providers can do their job more efficiently and serve our communities. I'm proud to pass legislation today that makes city government a little more accessible, responsive, and brings more humanity and dignity to our families and seniors. Thank you to the Speaker, Chair Gutierrez, Chair Zhuang, committee staff, my staff, advocates, providers, and older adults who helped bring it to this point. Thank you.
Councilmember Amelia, you'd like to speak on general orders?
Yes, I would like to thank our Speaker, Julie Menon, on this passing these great resolutions, calling on the New York State Governor.
Sorry, Councilmember, this is...
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, I'll add you to the discussion of resolutions, okay? No problem. All right. Seeing no one else signed up to speak on general orders. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I want to speak on the Article 11s that are being passed today to make a general statement that our body really reconsiders our approach to Article 11s. The City of New York spends tens of millions of dollars in Article 11s, and just looking at the ones, some of the ones that have been approved in the Bronx in the last few years, none of those have included electrical work in their scopes of work. The Bronx is burning. We have had fires double in the last 3 years. And for us as a city to be spending tens of millions of dollars on Article 11s that are not including critical elements in their scopes of work is not acceptable. We have to fix our old properties, and we have to do that by being fiscally responsible with the dollars that New Yorkers pay with their taxes. So I approve today's Article 11s for our district, but I do want to call upon us to look with a fine-tooth comb at the way that we are using this tax expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sanchez. Seeing no one else signed up for the discussion of general orders. Report of special committees.
None.
Reports of standing committees.
Report of the Committee on Aging, Intro 821A, Non-Digital Services.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Education, Intros 9A and 579A, Child Care and Early Childhood Programs.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Finance, Preconsidered LU 81 and Reso 514 through Preconsidered LU 90 and Reso 523, Tax Exemptions.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered M 78 and Reso 524, Budget Modification.
Coupled.
Report of the Committee on Immigration, Intro 55A, Office of Immigrant Affairs Signage.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Resolution appointing various persons, Commissioner of Deeds.
Coupled on general orders, I would now ask that the clerk take a roll call vote on all the items coupled on today's general orders calendar.
Thank you. Justin Sanchez.
Aye.
Farina Sanchez.
Aye on all. Thank you.
Thank you. Aldebol.
Aye on all, thank you.
Ariola.
Aye on all, with the exception of Intro 55A, for which I am a no. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Aviles.
Aye on all.
Banks.
Aye on all.
Brewer.
Yes.
Thank you. Brooks Powers.
I vote aye on all.
Caban.
I vote aye on all, and just want to second and echo the remarks made by my colleague, Councilmember Sanchez.
De La Rosa.
Aye on all, and I also second Councilmember Pierina Sanchez. Thank you.
Dinowitz.
Aye on all.
Encarnacion.
Aye on all.
Epstein.
Yes on all.
Farias. Felder.
Aye.
Feliz.
Aye on all.
Gennaro.
Aye.
Thank you. Gutierrez.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of the early childhood education advocates, Speaker Menon especially, for Intro 579, which we're passing today. I know that we're in this really unique moment where focus from both the council and the administration is united in a pathway to universal childcare. But we will not get there if people don't know about it. We will not get there if we consistently and permanently invest in it so that working families can finally believe that we are in fact working for them. So this bill mandates that the DOE not only put together a thoughtful plan, but implement that plan. Right now there are thousands and thousands of eligible pre-K and 3K children in shelters that are not enrolled in DOE programs that can be. We want to make sure that every child that is eligible will have the access and the resources to connect. And so we are putting that onus on the DOE, and I believe they are happy to do it. So thank you to all my colleagues who supported this bill, and thank you. I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hanif. Thank you. Hankerson.
Aye on all. Go Knicks.
Hanks.
Aye on all.
Hudson.
Aye.
Joseph.
Aye.
Krishnan.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye on all.
Lewis.
Aye on all.
Maloney.
Aye on all.
Marte.
Aye on all.
Mealy.
Aye.
Morano.
Aye on all with the exception of Intro 55A, on which I vote no.
Thank you, Councilman. Narcisse.
Let's go Knicks, and I vote aye. Haiti can be mighty, so let's win the World Cup.
Nurse. Osei.
I vote aye.
Palladino.
I'd like to explain my vote, please.
Permission granted.
I'm voting no on Intro 55A. The requirement to post signage in city buildings, including schools, promoting sanctuary city policies, is inappropriate and politicizes the immigration enforcement. This is unnecessary propaganda. Public buildings exist to provide services, educate students, and conduct government business, not to advance a political message. These spaces should remain neutral and serve all residents equally. Immigration enforcement is governed by federal law. This proposal would require taxpayer-funded messaging that reflects a particular political stance regarding cooperation with the federal immigration authorities. This raises broader concerns about the message it sends about local alignment with federal priorities. What's next? A society that does not follow laws that they do not like? Schools are especially concerning. Educational environments should remain focused on learning, not political messaging tied to an enforcement policy. These are scare tactics and have no place in our schools. Residents use city facilities for essential services, not political messaging. This proposal would set a troubling precedent to turning public buildings into platforms for ideological expression. Members of this body have taken an oath to uphold the laws of the land. I cannot attach myself to actions that amount to an insurrection against that obligation. For these reasons, I strongly vote no in opposition of 55A. Thank you.
Wrestler.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Salam.
I vote aye.
Santos Suoso.
Aye on all.
Thank you, Councilmember. Schulman.
Aye on all.
Stevens.
I and all know I would like to be associated with the remarks from Councilmember Sanchez. Prina Sanchez. Sorry, that's two.
Thank you, Councilman. Thomas Henry.
Aye.
Ung.
Aye on all.
Vernikov.
I and all with the exception of Intro 55A, on which I vote no. Thank you.
Williams.
I vote aye.
Wilson.
Aye on all.
1.
Aye on all.
Wang.
I vote yes on all except for Intro 55, in which I vote no.
Zhuang.
I own all. Also, I want to give a shout out not only just Nix, also our finance chair, Linda Lee. She was here till 10:30 last night. Almost 11 o'clock. Almost 11 o'clock.
Thank you, Councilmember. Carr.
No on introduction 55A, and aye on the rest.
Thank you. Abreu.
Aye.
Speaker Menon.
Aye.
All items on today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 50 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, with the exception of Intro 55A, which was adopted by a vote of 44 in the affirmative, 6 in the negative, and 0 abstentions. Introduction and reading of bills.
All bills have been referred to committee as indicated on today's agenda.
Thank you. We will now move into the discussion of resolutions, beginning by Deputy Speaker Williams.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader. Today, I'm proud to see the passage of two resolutions that reflect our responsibility to support communities, preserve history, and invest in future generations. The first is Resolution 165, which I sponsored to encourage New York State to allow unused paid family leave benefits to be transferred to grandparents and other designated caregivers. Paid family leave was created because we recognize that caring for a loved one is valuable work. Yet caregiving responsibilities are often shared among multiple family members, many of whom make significant personal and professional sacrifices to provide care. I am also proud to sponsor a resolution recognizing the history of Juneteenth, affirming New York City's commitment to upholding its legacy as a day of hope and celebration. As we prepare to commemorate Juneteenth next week, we are reminded that history does not preserve itself. It requires people and institutions willing to protect it, teach it, and pass it on. The legacy of Juneteenth reminds us that progress is not inevitable. It is the result of generations of people who organized, advocated, and refused to allow their voices, their history, or their humanity be erased. At a time when there are efforts to narrow our history and how it's taught and understood, we have a responsibility to ensure that future generations know the full story of our nation's journey. And if you allow me to just say one more sentence, including the struggles, sacrifices, and contributions of Black Americans. I want to thank Speaker Menon, Simone Jones, our Chief Equity Officer, for pushing this resolution, and my council colleagues, especially the members of the BLACK subcommittee. Thank you so much, Majority Leader.
Thank you. Councilmember Riley, followed by Mealy.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today, I'm proud to support the passage of Resolution 365A, which calls on New York State to remove unnecessary barriers that prevent working families from accessing child care assistance. Too many hardworking New Yorkers are being left behind by eligibility requirements that fail to reflect the reality of today's workforce. Home health aides, gig workers, hourly employees, and others with irregular schedules are often struggling to qualify for assistance, even though they are working hard to support their families and care for children. Childcare is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It allows parents to go to work, pursue opportunity, and provide for their families. When access to affordable childcare is out of reach, families are forced to make impossible choices between earning a paycheck and caring for their children. This resolution also strengthens our ongoing efforts to expand access to quality childcare for families across New York. If we are serious about creating opportunity and supporting working parents, we must ensure that assistance program reflects the realities of how people work and live today. I want to thank Senator Jessica Ramos and Assemblymember Sarah Clark for sponsoring this legislation in Albany, as well as my colleagues here in the council for participating and supporting it. Thank you.
Councilmember Mealy.
Hi, I just want to thank the speaker in regards to the intro 421A, in which
Sorry, Councilmember, I thought you were speaking on resolutions that we're voting on today. So if you're speaking on a resolution you're introducing, that would have to be on general discussion. My apologies for that. So I'll add you to
keep calling my name.
I'll keep calling you. I'll keep calling you. You got it. So we'll add you to that. So, is anyone else signed up for resolutions being voted on today? You are speaking about Reso 421, so that is actually appropriate for this. I heard you say intro and I got distracted. My apologies.
Be quick. I just want to thank the speaker and this body for Reso 421A in regards to letting no seniors should be forced into isolation because they cannot go get to a doctor's appointment, a grocery store, or simply visit their loved ones. Transportation is essential to health, independence, and dignity. Reso 421A recognize that reality and calls on the New York State to empower the New York City Department of Aging to expand and maintain transportation programs that our growing senior population desperately need. I'm asking all my colleagues please to support this legislation because more now than ever, our seniors need to be outside. And one thing our seniors are saying, they are not just outside, they are spinning the block. Thank you so much, Speaker.
Thank you, Councilmember, and my apologies again. Anyone else signed up for discussion on resolutions? All right.
I can do it again.
We will now have a voice vote on today's resolutions. If you wish to vote against or abstain from any of today's resolutions, please notify the Legislative Documents Unit by email or by approaching the dais. I'll now read today's resolution into the record. Resolution 165 calls on the state legislature to introduce and pass and the governor to sign legislation to amend the workers' compensation law in relation to allowing unused paid family leave to be transferred to grandparents and other designated caregivers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Resolution 365A calls on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign Senate Bill 1994 and Assembly Bill 2218 to remove the minimum wage and hours requirements for applicants of child care assistance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Resolution 421A calls on the New York State Governor to sign Senate Bill 8689 and Assembly Bill 10055, authorizing the New York State Office for the Aging to establish, operate, and maintain programs for transportation service. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Preconsidered Resolution 508 recognizes the history of Juneteenth and affirms the City of New York's commitment to upholding the legacy of Juneteenth as a day of hope and celebration. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. We'll now move into general discussion. We have about 20 people signed up. So I'm just warning you now, if I will be consistent on holding the time this time around. Beginning with Deputy Speaker Williams.
I'll be super brief. I just wanted to acknowledge members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated from across the New York metropolitan area. I know many have left. Who joined us earlier today for our annual Delta Day. This is our 4th Delta Day. As a proud member of the sorority, I am honored to welcome my sorors and thank them for their continued commitment to service, advocacy, and social action. And last but not least, I just wanted to give a special shout out to Senator Comrie, my predecessor, and my senator who is here today. I want to thank him for setting such a strong foundation for the 27th Council District and our Southeast Queens community as a whole. Thank you, Majority Leader, and I have so much time left.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Brooks Powers, followed by Narcisse.
Thank you, Majority Leader. And echoing the Deputy Speaker, I just wanted to recognize my sorors who joined us today of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for our amazing Delta Days here at City Hall. I'd like to also thank our teams in terms of Deputy Speaker Williams and myself's team.
My district manager is a member. She's here.
And Councilmember Caban said her district manager is also a member who is here. But we want to shout out our team for pulling together such a successful event today, and for our colleagues for stopping in and sharing greetings and continuing to work in partnership to move communities, particularly communities of color, forward across New York City and beyond. So thank you.
Councilmember Narcisse, followed by Aviles.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today, I am introducing a resolution calling on Albany to pass S 4937 and 8-1906, which will require the MTA to notify riders of bed bugs infestation on subways or trains and buses within 24 hours of discovery. Our constituents depend on our buses and subway every day, every single day. Many of them have long commutes, over an hour each day. They deserve to know if the train, car, or bus they ride on is dealing with infestation. Right now, there is no requirement to tell the public anything. Bed bugs do not stay on mass transit. They come home with you. They get into your couch, your bed, your children's room, and once they are in the room, in your home, getting rid of them is expensive and exhausting for a family living paycheck to paycheck. An extermination bill can be devastating, and I don't want that for the constituent in New York City in general. As a nurse, I can tell you that prevention is the best step. That is all this resolution asks for. Tell riders what you know and tell them quickly so they can prevent the spreading in their home, in the offices of ours as well. So go Knicks, let's win this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Aviles, followed by Brewer.
Today, I'm proud to introduce Resolution 494. This resolution stands with the people of Puerto Rico to stop the development of Proyecto Esencia, a $2 billion mega resort project spanning 1,500 acres of ecologically sensitive areas in Cabo Rojo to create a private, ultra-luxury city with high-end hotel rooms and multi-million-dollar residencies. The median income of residents in Puerto Rico is less than $26,000 annually. Developers has already been granted $497.7 million in tax credits and exemptions to build these multi-million-dollar homes and resorts. It is no surprise that major New York City developers are behind this project. This is the New York City big real estate playbook. Steamroll communities to serve the interests of the ultra-wealthy. While the area runs out of drinkable water, Proyecto Esencia will destroy the local environment, displace generations of Puerto Ricanos to build resorts and luxury vacation homes. I'm sickened to see the utter disregard for our people and the continued exploitation of Puerto Rico. This is effectively the third conquest, for those of you who may not know, because Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States. Puerto Ricans across the diaspora have been rising up against this project with marches, demonstrations happening on the island and across the diaspora, from New York to Minnesota to Florida to Chicago. With this resolution, the New York City Council is standing unapologetically with el pueblo de Puerto Rico and affirms Puerto Rico is not for sale. Puerto Rico no se vende y Esencia no va. Gracias.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Brewer, followed by Thomas Henry.
Thank you very much. I do want to thank the Honorable Mark Weprin for organizing today's reunion, and also Fred Cirillo and I are the only two people who have people's phone numbers. And I want to thank Ruth Messinger, whom I would not be here without. Thank you very much to all three of them. I also want to mention City FEPS. I know it's a priority, but I really want to make it a priority. I know that there is funding that has to be available, maybe $500 million, to be able to get folks out of shelter by having a City FEPS voucher. We have to make sure that is in the budget. I also want to mention that I have 4 bills, one that streamlines inspections for City FEPS, one that makes a 15-day application response necessary for City FEPS, and one that mandates annual reporting on lease-up times for City FEPS. We have to focus on City FEPS, and I want to thank certainly Councilmember Marina Sanchez for doing this. We're all making the same focus, and that has to be a priority for this budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Thomas Henry, followed by Hankerson.
Thank you. As New York joins the world in celebrating the kickoff of the FIFA World Cup, millions of people will be watching the world's game. And for one of the reasons people love sports is simple. We expect the game to be fair. You choose the game, marked cards, loaded dice, a referee secretly telling one team the playbook before kickoff. We all understand the same basic principle. When someone has an edge that no one else has, it leaves everyone else at a disadvantage. And when that advantage comes from public office, it's not just unfair, it's a breach of trust. That's why I'm introducing legislation to prohibit elected officials, policymakers, and their immediate family members from using non-public government information to profit through prediction markets and event-based trading. Intro 951 would make New York City the first city in the nation to explicitly prohibit elected officials and policymakers from using non-public government information to profit from prediction markets. And the timing matters. Across the country, lawmakers are beginning to recognize that prediction markets have created a new frontier for insider trading and public corruption. Congress has introduced legislation. The United States Senate has adopted restrictions. New York State has taken executive action. Now, New York City has the opportunity to lead, because the question isn't whether government officials should profit from information the public doesn't have. The answer to that question is obvious. The question is whether our laws have kept pace with this trend. This bill ensures they do. This is simple. This is about fairness, transparency, and making sure public service remains about serving the public. Because New Yorkers deserve to know that the people making decisions on their behalf are not placing bets based on information the public does not have. Whether it's on the soccer field, a card table, or a government, people deserve to know the rules are the same for everyone. They deserve to know the game isn't rigged. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hankerson, followed by Zhuang.
Thank you, Majority Leader. On June 19, 1865, enslaved black people in Galveston, Texas, learned that they were free more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had already been signed. 2 weeks earlier, on June 5, 1865, more than 1,000 black soldiers from the 25th Army Corps arrived in Galveston. They helped secure the city and played a vital role in spreading the news that slavery had ended, carrying the long-awaited message of freedom to black Texans. Juneteenth shows us that before we can celebrate in the joy of freedom, action must be taken. It shows how fragile progress can become when it is delayed, weakened, or left undefended. It also makes clear that freedom has to be pursued with persistence and that we cannot afford to stop paying attention or stop pushing. The Voting Rights Act became one of the clearest victories of the civil rights movement because it transformed years of activism into lasting legal protections. When the Supreme Court practically gutted one of the strongest parts of that law, it opened the door for states to pass voter ID laws, close polling places, purge voter rolls, and redraw districts in ways that made it harder for black communities to vote and have their voices heard. Beyond the ballot box, the law has failed black communities in courtrooms and throughout the criminal justice system, leaving too many families to confront a painful reality where their losses are too often met with indifference instead of justice. That is why it is so dangerous when the highest court in this country treats the history of black voter suppression like something we can afford to forget. The Supreme Court's blatant disregard for the history of black voter suppression has made an impact that reverberates throughout the nation, including here in New York, because weakening protections for black voters in one part of the country ultimately affects representation, policy, and voting rights everywhere. Juneteenth gives us a space to celebrate black joy, black survival, and black resilience. So in this moment, with the federal administration, the Supreme Court, and many states trying to weaken rights that generations fought to secure, we need to be creative, organized, and clear about our role. In the same spirit of those 1,000 soldiers, I look forward to working with advocates and elected officials across New York and beyond at every level of government to hold the line, fight back, and keep pushing. Thank you.
That's right.
Councilmember Zhuang, followed by Shulman.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Everyone knows opening a small business in New York City is one of the most time-consuming and complex processes in the country. People must navigate approvals from a lot of city agencies without any support. A standstill B plan review almost takes 4 to 12 weeks, and then FDNY, DEP, DOH, almost every single agency have something to do with open a small business, with total permitting timeline often stretched to 6 months or even more. That's why I'm introducing the Red Tape Relief Act, Intro 955. It created a new interagency inspection coordinating program, modeled after a proven initiative that cut the time to open a new business in New York City by up to 2 to 3 months. The Adams administration let this program phase out. This legislation will reestablish this program that streamline the multi-agency permit process. Start with restaurants and the child care programs, and then we would expand it to additional business types later. So we will put more money in small business owners' pockets and also the people they hire and also actually more tax revenue for New York City. The Red Tape Relief Act is an investment in the economic of every neighborhood in New York City, and I ask everyone to support my bill. In addition, I'm introducing Resolution 512, which would support the state bill S4252 and A10721. This will allow SCREE and DREE benefits to continue after one-time temporary increase in income. I ask you also support this resolution to help our older adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Shulman, followed by Banks.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader. Today I am introducing Intro 949 that would require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to create and maintain LGBTQ plus health and gender affirming care resources, as well as a publicly accessible searchable map of LGBTQ plus health services available throughout New York City. Access to health care begins with access to information. For many LGBTQ plus New Yorkers, finding an affirming provider, understanding available services, or navigating gender-affirming care can be challenging and time-consuming. These barriers can delay care and contribute to health disparities that continue to impact the community. This legislation would help address those challenges by creating a centralized, multilingual source of information on LGBTQ plus health services, patient rights and protections, and gender-affirming care. It would also require the city to maintain an interactive map that allows New Yorkers to search for providers and services, including counseling, primary care, sexual health services, and gender-affirming care. As we celebrate Pride Month, it is important that we continue to advance policies that support the health and well-being of LGBTQ plus New Yorkers. This is a practical, common-sense step that will make our healthcare system more accessible, more inclusive, and more equitable. And I want to thank Speaker Menon for her support and longstanding commitment to LGBTQ plus New Yorkers, and urge my colleagues to sign on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Banks, followed by Epstein.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today I'm pleased to introduce two pieces of legislation that addresses critical issues related to housing stability, accountability, and access across our city. First intro, Resolution 495, calling upon the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign A10992 and S99430A, which would strengthen the housing access voucher program by improving unit inspection requirements and prioritizing applicants most in need of housing assistance. As New York continues to face an affordability crisis, far too many of our neighbors remain unhoused. We must do everything possible to remove barriers that prevent individuals and families from securing stable housing. This resolution supports that efforts to make the voucher program more effective, responsive, and accessible to those who need it most. The second introduction, Intro 926, which would require monthly reporting on unauthorized occupancies of New York City Housing Authority units and NYCHA efforts to reclaim those apartments. At a time when thousands of New Yorkers remain on NYCHA's waiting list and public housing resources are in high demand, it is critical that vacant and unlawfully occupied units are identified and returned to productive use as quickly as possible. Increased transparency and reporting will provide the council with better data, strengthen accountability, and help ensure the available housing is reaching eligible residents in a timely manner. Together, these measures seek to improve oversight, strengthen accountability, and maximize the effectiveness of our housing resources so that they can better serve New Yorkers in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Epstein, followed by Hudson.
Thank you, Majority Leader. First, happy Pride Month to everyone. It's a good June. I want to thank our colleagues, including the Speaker, who signed a letter to the Mayor's office around Merchant's House. People know we've talked about this for the last couple of months. Merchant's House is a historic site. It is parkland. It is the site of the Underground Railroad, and it is recently discovered that that Underground Railroad site could be at risk with development that's happening next door. Along with Councilmember Marte, we've been working hard on making sure that the city's aware of this and potentially look for other opportunities to preserve Merchant's House. We are also doing a Juneteenth event next week, June 18th, at the Merchant's House, as well as the park next door, Manuel Plaza. I encourage all our colleagues to join us. We want to preserve this, but also talk about the history of slavery, and it's a perfect place to do it when the Underground Railroad. Some of our colleagues have joined us, and we've gone to Merchant's House and seen that. We're also introducing a couple pieces of legislation today around environmental issues, and I look forward to talking to you all further about it. And finally, yesterday was an exciting opportunity to co-name a street after Jimi Hendrix. For people who are older like me and know what Jimi Hendrix has done, the history that he has in music and rock and roll is amazing. We were able to do that with some really legendary leaders yesterday, and it was a joy and a privilege to do that. And I want to thank you all and have a lovely afternoon.
Councilmember Hudson, followed by Councilmember Riley.
Thank you so much. Today I'm proud to introduce legislation that speaks to a simple principle. New York should be a place where families can thrive, where children have opportunities to succeed, and where pregnancy and childbirth are treated with dignity and care. The first bill, Intro 940, would establish a baby bonds pilot program in New York City. While we focus on helping New Yorkers meet their day-to-day expenses, we often ignore the continued growth of the racial wealth gap. This legislation would explore the creation of publicly supported savings accounts for children that can grow over time and eventually be used for wealth-building purposes like higher education, homeownership, entrepreneurship, or retirement savings. Direct cash assistance, in conjunction with programs like City FEPS, SNAP, and Fair Fares, is how we pull people out of poverty and build generational wealth. I'm also introducing two resolutions, Reso 497 and 498, that call on the state to pass legislation banning the use of restraints on incarcerated people during labor or custodial interrogations, as well as legislation to postpone certain court proceedings for individuals in late-term pregnancies. Last month, New Yorkers were horrified by reports of a woman going into labor while shackled after spending more than a day awaiting arraignment. Pregnancy and childbirth are among the most vulnerable moments in a person's life, and no one should face those moments while restrained, nor should the life of an innocent child be jeopardized in order to ensure their parent is held accountable. These resolutions call on the state legislature to strengthen protections for pregnant New Yorkers without eliminating accountability and affirm a basic principle: dignity does not end at the courthouse door or inside a jail cell. Together, these bills reflect our responsibility to build a city that supports families, expands opportunity, and treats every New Yorker with dignity. I urge my colleagues to support Intro 940 and Resolutions 497 and 498. Happy Pride, happy Juneteenth, happy Caribbean American Heritage Month, and go New York, go. Nixon 5, baby.
Councilmember Riley, followed by Marte.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today, I'm proud to introduce two bills that address real concerns facing homeowners and small businesses across New York City. The first bill, Intro 946, focuses on accountability when city-owned trees cause damage due to overgrowth or lack of maintenance. Too often, homeowners are left navigating multiple agencies, facing uncertainty about who is responsible for these repairs, and in some cases, being forced to shoulder costly repairs through no fault of their own. Damage caused by city-owned trees can impact sidewalks, roadways, and even private properties, creating significant financial burdens for residents. No homeowner should be forced to pay for damages caused by a tree they do not own or are not responsible for maintaining. This legislation helps clarify responsibility and ensures that when damage is caused by a city-owned tree, eligible homeowners are not left carrying the cost alone. If the city owns the tree, the city should be responsible for addressing the damages it causes. The second bill, Intro 947, which I'm sponsoring with Councilmember Morano, focuses on legally operating registered tobacco bars that are already authorized to do business in New York City. For establishments facing financial hardship, this legislation will create a one-time opportunity to transfer their registration and license and relocate when warranted, helping these businesses remain open while continuing to operate under the city's existing oversight and regulations. At their core, both bills are about fairness, clarity, and ensuring government works better for the people we serve. I look forward to working with my colleagues to move these efforts forward. Thank you, Majority Leader.
Councilmember Marte, followed by Morano.
Good afternoon, everyone. 2 days ago, a carriage horse named Denise collapsed in Central Park while carrying passengers. For 10 minutes, Denise gasped for air, twitching in pain, scared, as he slowly died. In the 2 hours Denise laid on the ground, no vent were sent to help. This is animal cruelty, plain and simple. What happened on Tuesday was not a freak accident, it's the norm. Over the past year, there have been at least 7 incidences with carriage horses in Central Park. 2 have collapsed and died in the street. Last May, 2 horses crashed into each other, knocking over the carriages, sending the driver to the hospital. Also, last May, 2 horses got scared and ran off into the park, injuring one of the drivers so badly that they needed surgery, and injuring nearby pedicab drivers who were hit by the horse. In September, tourists were knocked off their carriage when the horse ran off and damaged park property. In January, a horse ran into Midtown traffic, damaging a taxi and the Parks Department car. And just 2 weeks ago, another horse ran off, knocking over its carriage and sending the driver to the hospital. Time and time again, the horses, their drivers, and the public are put at risk. This needs to end. The Central Park Conservancy supports banning horse carriages. So does the mayor, and so do 78% of New Yorkers. How many more horses have to die? How many more people have to be injured before finally taking action? Do we have to wait for a human to be killed? Riders' Law will do what our constituents are telling us to do. It will ban horse carriages while requiring DCWP to work with carriage drivers to transition them into other jobs. This bill is not anti-worker, it's anti-cruelty. I urge you all to co-sponsor this bill so we can finally join dozens of other cities around the world who have banned horse carriages, like Philadelphia did today. Let's end.
Please keep it down.
Let's finally end this legalized animal cruelty. Thank you.
Please keep it down. Thank you. Please. First warning, first warning, first warning. I understand the excitement. Councilor Morano, followed by Gennaro.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I strongly want to associate myself with the remarks of both Council Members Marte and Riley. I'm proud to partner with both of them on each of the bills that they spoke about. I also want to give a warm shout out to 4 of my predecessors that are in the building today. Former Council Members Fred Cerullo, Vito Fasella, Steve Fiala, and Vinny Ignizio. Each of them has made this body better, and each of them has made Staten Island a better place to live. I want to speak on one of the other pieces of legislation that I'm introducing today, which I believe is rooted in a very simple principle. Voters should be able to vote for the candidate they actually support without worrying that they're accidentally helping elect the candidate they like the least. For years, New York City has used ranked choice voting in primaries and special elections. Millions of New Yorkers have successfully used it. Very appropriate that both former Councilmember Albanese and Fiala are here because they were on the Charter Revision Commission that gave us ranked choice voting. Yet, when we get to the general election, we suddenly switch to a completely different set of rules. Voters are left to use a decoder ring to wonder how they vote in each election. It doesn't make any sense. If ranked choice voting is appropriate for a primary election and appropriate for a special election, why is it somehow inappropriate for the election that attracts the most voters and receives the most attention? As many of my colleagues know, I have a broader bill that looks at broader reforms, but recent events, especially the most recent mayor's race, and this talk of a spoiler and don't vote for this guy, otherwise this guy wins, it's crazy. There's no reason we as sophisticated New Yorkers in the 21st century should do this. It's no way to run a democracy. A healthy election system should encourage candidates to compete, not pressure them to withdraw. It should encourage voters to vote honestly, not strategically, and it should never force New Yorkers to choose between voting their conscience and voting their fears. I hope you'll all join me in sponsoring ranked choice voting for the general election.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Gennaro, followed by Minority Leader Carr.
Mr. Majority Leader, I'm introducing a bill today to reform the city's horse carriage industry, Intro 937, which is the successor bill to my landmark law, which comprehensively reformed the carriage industry, Local Law 10 of 2010. I've been working with this iconic industry on behalf of the council since I began as Speaker staff 36 years ago because I was the only one on staff who knew a lot about horses. I began riding horses 60 years ago, and I continue to ride. I love the city's horse carriage industry and the connections it creates between kids and horses and the memories it makes for young families. Intro 937 adds to the reforms of Local Law 10. It does the following. It creates a decennial study that considers ways to enhance horse safety on improved routes between horse stables and Central Park. It allows horses to begin working at 7 a.m. when it is cooler out. It mandates that a study about installation and maintenance of hitching posts, which are an important safety measure to be built by the Parks Department. The bill mandates that the Health Commissioner appoint a new 5-member rental horse advisory board comprised of the following members: 1 member who represents the saddle horse industry, 1 who represents the carriage horse industry, a licensed veterinarian, and 2 from the general public. Finally, I wish to speak to the tragic death of the carriage horse Denise 2 nights ago, which is being exploited by people who know absolutely nothing about horses. Denise had been pronounced fit 3 months ago by the police veterinarian who cares for the NYPD mounted units. He was 16 years old, middle-aged for a horse, and had worked the city's carriage industry for 10 years. The autopsy has not been completed, but my experience suggests to me that Denise probably had an aneurysm, perhaps on his aorta or his brain, that ruptured. This is my speculation based on my experience. Such a condition is normally asymptomatic and cannot be predicted. Advocates will seize upon the specious argument that Denise worked so hard that he was worked to death, which is simply not a possibility in New York's carriage industry. I could go on and on. I cut my... there you go. I wish I had more time.
Thank you, Council Member. Minority Leader Carr, followed by Council Member Nurse.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I just want to join with all my colleagues in welcoming back our council alumni, in particular the representatives who used to represent the 2 boroughs that I currently serve, Staten Island and Brooklyn, and of course our former Republican members who joined us today. In particular, I want to acknowledge the 3 former minority leaders who are with us, Fred Cerullo, Jimmy Otto, and Vincent Ignizio, who, along with Councilmember Fiala, our county clerk, I've benefited from their wit and wisdom and friendship over the years, and I really appreciate their being here today. On a more somber note, I just want to recognize that we lost a member of our council family, Robert Calandra, who served in this council for 24 years. He actually began working for then Minority Leader Jimmy Otto back in 2002. He was a proud native son of the Bronx, lived there his entire life alongside his family, and he worked on many issues here in the council after he transitioned to central staff, working for a number of committees, including as the committee counsel for the Fire and Emergency Management Committee, where he developed most of his expertise. He was a graduate of Fordham and New York Law School, a very proud New Yorker, and a friend to many here, including myself. He was uncommonly kind, and his expertise was of value to generations of council members. And in particular, for myself, he helped actually select Steve Matteo, who was my immediate predecessor, to join the staff of then leader Jimmy Otto. And it was that decision that led to a chain of events that led to me being here today as a council member. So it's a reminder to myself and colleagues, as well as staff, that the decisions and judgments that we make in our time here continue to be felt years and years later. So may he rest in peace and God bless his memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Council Member Nurse, followed by 1.
Okay, I'll be brief because there's a lot of commotion. I just want to double down on the comments of Councilmember Brewer around City FEPS. I'm really, really concerned that we are basically halfway into June and we do not have a deal. I think the work that Councilmember Pedina Sanchez has been doing to hold the line and really force this conversation has been incredible. I'm really grateful that the speaker has included it in their priority remarks today. We really need to get somewhere on this. I think it will be wrong. I think it'll be morally wrong for us to pass a budget without a significant expansion to city FEPS. I know everybody in this room knows what it's like when people come to your office, people who are faced with evictions. We should be doing everything we can to meet the goals of last year's bill package, which also included utilities. But if we can't get there, we've got to get something. We cannot pass a budget this year without a significant expansion of city FEPS, and just want to thank everybody who's been holding the line with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember 1, followed by Maloney.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today I'm introducing legislation Intro 954, also known as the Al-Washi Worker Protections Law, a bill named after my constituent Abdul Al-Washi, a deli worker in Woodside, Queens, whose life was changed forever by a senseless act of violence. In 2024, Mr. Al-Shawashi was brutally beaten unconscious inside the bodega where he worked. He has since undergone 8 surgeries and lived with permanent life-changing disabilities as a result of that attack. And his son reached out to my office not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of desire to make sure no other deli worker goes through the same thing that his father endured by proposing legislation that I'm introducing today. And the need for legislation action couldn't be more urgent. Just earlier this year, Abdul Saleh, a family-owned East Village deli operator, was shot and killed outside of his store. New York City's bodegas aren't just stores, they are community anchors, and they were the workers who stay open during the pandemic when the rest of the city shut down, and they're the ones who are open 24/7 so that you can get that emergency Tylenol or get water when it's really hot outside. And yet, reports of assaults happen across 5 boroughs in every community too often. So modeled after the Taxi Driver Protection Act, the Auschwitz Worker Protection Law will require bodegas, delis, dukkans, and retail shops to prominently display a warning sign that assaulting a worker is a felony punishable by up to 25 years in prison. And these signs will be provided at no cost to business owners through DCWP and in partnership with SBS. A visible warning will signal to anyone who walks through the bodega that attacking a worker is a serious crime and a serious consequence. So thank you to Councilmember Farias and Riley for being co-prime sponsors of this bill, and thank you to the Yemeni American Merchants Association for their support on this bill as well as their ongoing support to the Auschwitz family. And with that, I urge my colleagues to sign on to this community-driven piece of legislation. And I also want to acknowledge we're also introducing today Resolution 510, a resolution declaring June 18th as Autistic Pride Day in the city of New York. So please sign on to both. Thank you so much.
Councilor Maloney, followed by Vernikov.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today is World Cup Kickoff Day, and yesterday, Speaker Menon, Councilmember Chanel Thomas Henry, and I honored 2 soccer legends with Thierry Henry Way at Rockefeller Center and Pele Way in Queens. We hope New Yorkers from across the city will visit those streets and the 5 fan festivals in all 5 boroughs. I love Alumni Day and want to shout out that I have 3 predecessors here. The first, Assemblymember Keith Powers, second, Dan Garodnick, and my mother, former Congresswoman and former council member Carolyn Maloney. It's great to have so many people back in the chambers. And I also want to recognize our graduating spring intern class, Kate Herr, Graham Heft, Sharada Mason, Tyler Faber, Maria Bordes, Radha Nagarini, and Ken Carby, and Andrew Jin. This was our first intern class, and I want to thank all of them for their contributions to setting up our office, bringing creativity, energy, and dedication to serving New Yorkers. I am introducing 2 pieces of legislation. The first, Resolution 501, calls on New York State to amend the boundaries of the congestion relief zone to exempt the connecting roads between the Queensboro Bridge and the FDR Drive. Queensboro Bridge has long served as a critical toll-free connection between Queens and Manhattan, and while the Queensboro Bridge and the FDR Drive are excluded from charges from the congestion relief zone, many New Yorkers have to pay the full $9 to transition between the two when it was previously free. And the second is Intro 942, which establishes an AI literacy training program for small businesses. As artificial intelligence becomes a growing part of how we work, how we do business, small business owners deserve access to the same knowledge and resources that larger companies are already utilizing. This bill directs the Department of Small Businesses to provide practical training on this emergent technology. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Vernikov, followed by Hanif.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Today I'm introducing Introduction 952, the Houses of Worship Reporting Bill. Again, it is a reporting bill. This legislation would require the NYPD to track and publicly report out information about protests occurring outside houses of worship. Under this bill, the NYPD would publish a quarterly report detailing the number of demonstrations outside houses of worship that required police deployment. The report would include the type of religious institution affected, such as synagogue, a church, a mosque, or other houses of worship, as well as the nature of the First Amendment activity that occurred. This data would provide a clear picture of how these events impact various religious communities across the city. This bill will provide critical insight into whether specific religious communities are being disproportionately targeted, intimidated, or prevented from safely exercising their constitutional right to freedom of religion. By identifying patterns and trends, we can better understand where additional protections, resources, or community responses may be needed. All information collected would be made available on the NYPD's publicly accessible website, ensuring residents, community leaders, and policymakers have access to timely information about these incidents. This approach mirrors the data collection process already used for hate crimes, where incidents are tracked with attention to the communities being impacted. Religious institutions are central pillars of our neighborhoods, and this bill ensures we have the information needed to protect them. Thank you very much, and I encourage my colleagues to sign on to this important legislation. Thank you.
Councilmember Hanif, followed by Ressler.
Thank you. Tonight, more than 100,000 people, including thousands of young people, will sleep in New York City's shelter system. Since 2023, more than 42,000 families have faced eviction. We know CityFEPS works. It keeps families housed, helps people move out of shelter, and provides a more humane and cost-effective response to homelessness. That's why I'm urging a significant expansion of CityFEPS as promised to New Yorkers. This program is a proven lifeline that prevents homelessness, combats displacement, and helps families achieve stability. Building affordable housing remains my top priority, and exploring the opportunity to build on public land at the Windsor Terrace Library is worth serious consideration. This approach could also bring significant investments to modernize and improve the library. With excellent transit access, strong public schools, local businesses, playgrounds, and proximity to Prospect Park, this is exactly where we should be building new affordable housing. As discussions continue, I look forward to working with Speaker Menon and engaging with the community. And finally, I'm proud to sponsor Intro 938, the Municipal Grocery Stores Bill to expand access to affordable, nutritious food. I look forward to working with the administration to make municipal grocery stores a reality and enshrine this program into law so it can endure beyond any one administration. Thank you.
Councilmember Ressler, followed by Caban and Joseph.
Thank you so much, Majority Leader. Firstly, just want to thank former Councilmember Weprin and Councilmembers Brewer and our Speaker for organizing this special get-together today. It was really wonderful to see so many really tremendous public servants join us here in Council chambers. And I'd like to echo the sentiments that many of my colleagues have spoken so eloquently about regarding the importance of finally reaching a settlement and funding CityFEPS in this budget. The Speaker and Councilmember Sanchez have been tremendous champions for CityFEPS, and I really, really hope that we can get a deal done, because this is a proven and effective strategy to prevent people from going into shelter and getting people out of shelter. And then lastly, I just wanted to share an update with my colleagues, since it's going to be coming up in a couple weeks, about a land use project in our district. You know, I'm very proud that Council District 33 has built more new housing than any other district in New York City over the last 15 years. We have many, many projects going on right now of the scale and size of Monitor Point. It's over 1,000 units. I think there's a dozen projects of that size currently underway in our district. We welcome housing, but on public land, we have to demand more. And I've been really clear that on public land, we need at least 50% affordable housing, and we want the administration to finally follow through on a promise that was made 20 years ago to finish the immediately adjacent park. Unfortunately, we had a hearing over 2 weeks ago. The developers refused to meet with me since. They finally set something up for next week, nearly 3 weeks after the hearing. I think they're clearly trying to jam me and jam the council, and that is an unfortunate approach. So I'll be sharing updates with each of you individually over the days to come, but just wanted to share that less than promising update as a result of the developer choosing not to engage. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Caban, followed by Joseph.
Thank you. I want to start by echoing what my colleagues have mentioned about CityFEPS. If it keeps people safe, healthy, if it saves lives, if it puts a roof over their heads, it's worth doing. And we have the resources to do it, no doubt about it. We have been vigilant as a council to continue to fight for that, and it is going to be imperative that the administration comes and pours money into that program so that the most vulnerable folks are getting housed. I know it's probably going to be mentioned by other folks, but we have thousands of students who live in shelters. We have thousands of people who are living at the intersection of disabilities and other challenges that are living in shelters that need a stabilizing force like a clean, safe, healthy, affordable home. I also want to pick up where mi hermana left off in talking about what's happening in Puerto Rico, because New York City absolutely takes a huge part in what happens there. We're about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country on the premise of freedom and democracy and taking care of our people. When we have our people living on the island, colonized, this project would be devastating for the people of Puerto Rico. In addition to that, there was a law that was just passed on the island that says that if the people of Puerto Rico, which by virtue of being colonized by the United States, the majority of which live under the poverty line, if they want to be able to access the court system to challenge this luxury billionaire project, pet project, they have to crowdsource 10% of what the project is worth or cost to even step foot into a court to challenge it. That's not justice, that's not democracy, it certainly isn't self-determination, and we're seeing today that that's also being put at risk. Puerto Rico can't afford to remain in its current colonial status. It is the subject of being the target of just vulture capitalism, people buying bonds knowing that the island cannot declare bankruptcy. And I'll just end by saying that the resident commissioner threatened to cement the colonial status quo in a new bill, and so we have to call on Congress to
Please
pass a
wrap
bill
up.
that enables Puerto Rican self-determination. Thank you.
Councilmember Joseph.
Thank you, Majority Leader. As a forever educator, I know housing instability follow our children into classroom. It affects attendance, concentration, and emotional well-being, social well-being. Roughly 1 in 6 DOE students experienced homelessness last year. We cannot claim commitment to educational equity while ignoring the crisis that undermines a child's ability to learn. And we must not overlook our college students sleeping on couches, staying in shelters, working multiple jobs, wondering whether will they go when the semester ends. They're not asking for special treatment. They're asking for the basic stability necessary to succeed. New York City cannot claim to be a city of opportunity if the people striving to build a better life cannot afford a safe place to call home. We must expand city FEPS now. Every day we delay, more families lose their homes, more children lose their footing, and more students are forced to choose between their education and their survival. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else signed up to speak, I'll now call on Speaker Julie Menin to close today's stated meeting.
Thank you so much. That now concludes the June 11th, 2026 stated meeting. Thank you.